ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So here we see Lord Brahma has been very praiseful about Kardama Muni, who has accepted the orders given by his father Brahma himself, and even as his spiritual master, whatever the orders were given to him, whatever duties were assigned to him, he carried them out very faithfully, without disobedience, without argument, without hesitation. He carried out his duties. The point is to understand the spiritual master knows very well what duties are required of us to be carried out so that we can become fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Just like here we find Brahmaji, he has ordered Kardama Muni to get married, to beget children, nice children, so that his duty as a progenitor, as a Prajapati, to increase good population in this material world, it may be carried out. Now, this is a very important mission of the Lord in this material world. We may wonder how Prajapati, here Kardama Muni, is serving the mission of the Lord. Because we may wonder what marriage has got to do with the mission of the Lord, what producing children has got to do with the mission of the Lord, isn't it? So actually, we have to understand that the Supreme Lord has a very important mission in this material world. This material world is a chance given to the living entity to exercise their free will, and at the same time to make them to understand that being independent of the Supreme Lord, not aligning with the desires of the Supreme Lord, desiring independently, actually they will suffer in this material world. So, that is why Brahma is given this task of increasing the population in this material world. The secondary creation of creating varieties of bodies in this material world. The task is given to Brahmaji. So it is very much in line. Until and unless there is progeny, Where is the question of making them Krishna conscious? Until and unless there are children, there is population. Where is the question of making them Krishna conscious? So, there are varieties of duties. Just like Narad Muni is doing his part of duty, and here we are seeing Kardama Muni is doing his part of duty. Narad Muni, he may do as a part of his duty advising someone to remain celibate throughout his life, so that they can become Krishna conscious without undue responsibilities in their life and go back to Godhead. And in some cases we find, here Brahma is telling Kardama Muni that I am very happy. You have carried out my order of getting married, procreating children. So actually both are meant for the same mission. That is what one should understand. Here we can see Prabhupada is pointing out something very interesting and very important in the purport. Prabhupada is saying, in the Vedic system, the marriages were performed according to Vedic principles. Just like we all understand that the whole system of Varnashrama is designed in such a way that a crude man can become polished, civilized, a gentleman, and finally a great devotee of the Lord and go back to Godhead. The whole design of Varnashrama system is made in such a way. In the material world, the biggest disease of the living entity is kama, lusty desires, desires independent of the Supreme Lord, desires to enjoy senses. In the spiritual world, the principle governing the spiritual world is prema. This kama is actually nothing but a perverted reflection of prema. The same thing we are trying in the material world. We are trying to make a separate world from the Supreme Lord. There prema governs everything. Prema means when everything is employed for the service of the Lord, to gratify the senses of the Supreme Lord, that is called prema. Kama means when everybody wants to gratify their own senses, that is called kama. Just like when we say the gopis were the highest lovers of the Lord, they were not bothered about their desires. Their desires they wanted to completely dedicate to satisfy the desires of the Supreme Lord. That is called as prema. So now, in the material world, the living entities, the prema has become transformed into kama. Now the mission of the Lord is that gradually, by some kind of process, this lust once again can become transformed back into prema. That is the mission of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains this is the greatest enemy of the living entity. Lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity. Why? Because it covers his real knowledge. And the symptoms of this kama is such that the more you try to satisfy kama, the more it increases. No satiation at all. The more you satisfy. The example is given, it is just like the flame increases more and more if you add fuel to it more and more. Right? Suppose you are burning a flame and you keep pouring ghee on it, it will keep burning. So, the method to get rid of kama is not to satisfy the senses. That is never stated in the Vedic literature. Bhagavad Gita, specifically if you see, practically everywhere Krishna is mentioning one has to give up all kinds of sensual desires. So now, how to go about this? That is called as Varnashrama system. How to gradually turn lust, kama into prema. So, beginning of that is restraint, not satisfying. In the beginning, in celibacy, as a brahmacharya, one is trained to restrain, to try to satisfy these sensual desires. One is trained so that he can train to restrain his senses. And then, with the same spirit of restraint, one is allowed to take sannyas when he has become sufficiently trained as a brahmachari and he is no more disturbed. Then he is allowed to take sannyas. But if he finds it difficult, with the same spirit of detachment, he is allowed to enter into grahastha life. The idea is the same, to get rid of this sensual desire. One should not think grahastha life is meant for satisfying the senses. That is not the idea. It is meant for purifying the desires with restraint. Only difference is, as a brahmachari, one is not allowed at all. In grahastha life, one is allowed with restraint for the same purpose. That is the only difference. So here, in this purport, Prabhupada is talking about the Vedic system of marriage. How this Vedic system was done. Today, marriages are done on the basis of satisfying sex desire. It is said in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in Kali Yuga, marriages will be done more or less on the principle of satisfaction of sex desires. And then, when there is deficiency in trying to satisfy those desires, either from boy side or from girl side, then there is divorce. This is the principle which is being followed, because their whole idea is that married life is meant for satisfying these desires. That is what they are thinking. But actually, the goal of Vedic life, Vedic married life, is not for that. It was to restrain those senses and align those desires of sexual desires to procreate nice progeny, good population in the world. So that when we are living in this material world, we live with peace and harmony, because until and unless there is peace and harmony in the world, it is very difficult to become Krishna conscious. Just like, I don't know how many of you read, few days back there was a quote put up on the board. Prabhupada is saying that your mind has become too agitated, then it is better to sit down. The mind has to become quiet, calm, peaceful. Then you can execute Krishna consciousness. When the mind is agitated with varieties of desires, it is very difficult to practice Krishna consciousness. So, we have to see that kind of environment, that kind of situation where our mind can be peaceful and we can practice Krishna consciousness. So somebody's mind can be peaceful in Grahastha life. Somebody's mind can be very peaceful in Brahmacharya life. It depends from temperament. That is very important. Two things Prabhupada is saying is very important in today's purport. Yatha Sheelam, Yatha Ruchi. Even the married life was done accordingly. Otherwise we would wonder why the people used to calculate, why they used to see horoscope, why all those things, requirements were there. Isn't it? So what they would see is, what is the temperament, what is the character of the boy? And then they will also see what is the temperament or the character of the girl. They should match. The temperament, the character of the boy and girl should match. Then it will be very congenial for their grahastha life, for their married life. If the temperament does not match, there will be always fight in the house. And in that kind of agitated situation, quarreling kind of situation, where it is possible, just like it is said, Chanakya Pandit says, that in the house, if there is no affectionate mother, and Bharini also is Apriyavadini, if she is always speaking against or not very pleasing, then he says better Aranyam. Better you give up that kind of household life. Better you take sannyas. Because there is no difference between Aranyam and your house. Isn't it? So that is required. A congenial atmosphere is required. So two things are there, Prabhupada is saying. Yatha Ruchi. The taste of a woman is also very important. The taste of a man is important. If the man is inclined spiritually, that is his taste. And if the woman is inclined materially, it is a mismatched situation. And we can see the result of such kind of marriages. It's practically suicidal. That if you want to advance in spiritual life, and at the same time you are looking for beautiful woman who is materialistically attached to satisfy your senses, it will not go together. Isn't it? So, Yatha Sheelam, as per the temperament or the character, and Yatha Ruchi, as per the taste or inclinations. So, we are born with certain inclinations, certain taste, and we have developed certain character according to our previous lives, according to the three modes of material nature we have contacted. Isn't it? We have certain temperament. That is how we find sometimes even in devotees' life it is very difficult to change their temperament. Some are very, angry sometimes, they become hostile. Very difficult to change their temperaments. Because that is what we carry from our past life. But of course, in devotional life, gradually we have to come out of the influence of three modes of material nature. Devotional life actually supposed to be transcendental life, which is not affected. That is how it is said that your material birth is immaterial. You may be born in Shudra family, you may be born in Brahmana's family, you may be born in Rakshasa's family, does not matter. Provided we take seriously the principles of Krishna consciousness, then we are supposed to develop Vaishnava qualities. Isn't it? Which are even superior to the qualities of the Brahmanas. We are supposed to develop that kind of quality. We see that example. We see that example in Mrigari. What kind of personality he was from his birth. What kind of upbringing he had in his life. But when he seriously took to Krishna consciousness, he changed his life. So you cannot keep on saying, Prabhu, this is my nature. I quarrel with people, I become angry with people. No, that means we are not taking seriously, because yes, three modes of material nature are there. But in devotional life, gradually we have to come out of the influence of the three modes of material nature. That three modes of material nature, the nature we have acquired, is also because of our previous activities. Now you do activities by which your nature can change. Isn't it? Now we should do those activities by which our nature can change. So, that is very, very essential. In one of his lectures, which Prabhupada gave, when he was marrying some of his disciples, it's very interesting. Prabhupada explains about why as a sannyasi, even though he is criticized by many people, that as a sannyasi, he is getting his students personally married. Actually, sannyasi is not supposed to conduct marriages, all those things. But Prabhupada conducted for his disciples. And Prabhupada explains what is the reason. The only reason is Prabhupada wanted to see his devotees, disciples become Krishna conscious, either as brahmacharis or as grahasthas. The most important principle is to become Krishna conscious. All other things are secondary. So even in grahastha life, Krishna consciousness is primary. Everything else is secondary. So I'll just read that portion, very interesting. Prabhupada is saying, I am a sannyasi. I have renounced my family life. I have got my children, grandchildren. I have my wife still living, but I have separated from them. This is called sannyas. Why am I taking interest again, this family life of my student? Somebody may question. Prabhupada has already taken sannyas. He is away from his wife, he is away from his children. Then why is he taking interest in family life once again? Getting his disciples married. Because I want to see them properly progress towards spiritual life. See? Prabhupada wants to see his disciple progress towards spiritual life. So similarly here we are seeing Kardama Muni is carrying out that kind of responsibility which he is assigned, which he is asked to do by spiritual master Brahma. Then, therefore, although it is not the business of a sannyasi to take part in marriage ceremony, just to save my student, both boys and girls, from sinful activities, I am personally taking interest that they may become good gentleman and lady by marriage. Because there are only 2-3 things. One should understand this very clearly. Either remain celibate, or as a gentleman get married. Only these two have place in Krishna conscious life. Third thing is not allowed in Krishna conscious life. Illicit arrangement is never allowed in Krishna consciousness. So that we have to be honest about. Either remain brahmachari or remain a good grahastha, but don't remain, Prabhupada says, bachelor daddy. Don't become a bachelor daddy. That Krishna does not say in Bhagavad Gita. Isn't it? So that we have to understand very clearly. So Prabhupada is saying, to save his student from sinful life, that I am chanting Krishna consciousness, I have illicit connections, and still I am practicing. No, that is not allowed in Krishna consciousness. That is a very sinful life. And Krishna says, without giving up sinful life, you cannot enter into spiritual life. Do not think you can enter. Yesham tu antagatam papam jananam punya karmana te dvanda moha nirmuktam bhajante maam dridhavrata. Without giving up sinful life, you cannot enter into spiritual life. That we have to understand. Isn't it? So then Prabhupada is saying, and they are feeling very happy. Many of them are present in this meeting. From their face, from their activities, it appears they are very happy. So in this Krishna consciousness society, we have got this program. If some boy or girl wants to get married, I help. So this marriage ceremony is today arranged on that principle. The present bride, bridegroom must know it certainly. This marriage is not for sense gratification. It is to progress in spiritual life. This married life is not meant for sense gratification. This marriage is for purification of life. So there is no question of divorce. There is no question of separation. Don't get into married life if you have got such propensity that I don't like my wife anymore because of sense enjoyment, so now I want divorce. Now I am not able to satisfy my senses anymore in married life. Grapes are sour, so I don't want these grapes now. Isn't it? No, that is not the idea of married life. So if somebody has got this kind of propensity, Prabhupada is saying, better don't get married. Our first principle is to become Krishna conscious and other things are secondary. Even in married life, first principle is to become Krishna conscious, other things are secondary. Putra arthe kriyate bharya. If you can produce nice children, Krishna conscious children, it will be greatest service to the human society. Very great society, that is. If actually somebody can make his children Krishna conscious, that's a great contribution to the human society. Because human society is producing children like cats and dogs, the whole human society is in trouble. So, if somebody can produce nice Krishna conscious children, actually it's a great contribution to the society. How can you expect peace and prosperity in the society of cats and dogs? Therefore, there is necessity. There is necessity to produce children of Krishna consciousness, to train them from the very beginning. You will be all glad to know that some of our students, very small boys in San Francisco, they are being trained and they are making wonderful progress. So there is no fault of these hippie boys and girls. They have not been trained. Not only here, every part of the world, educational system is not very satisfactory. From very beginning of their life, they are allowed to mix freely and they are allowed to enjoy sex life unrestricted. This is neither good for their health nor for education. It's not good for unmixing, freely mixing what we see today in the modern society. Why celibacy, why brahmacharya was there? Free mixing is not required. That was the idea, isn't it? So it is not good for health also, it is not good for education. So therefore, we are now getting the results of education, that so-called education, communist and hippies. So people, those who are guardians of the society, should take serious note of it and make their life very regulated. So that is what we can see here also, that Brahmaji is saying to Kardama Muni that according to their character, you have very nice 9 daughters. So according to their character and according to their taste, get them married to the 9 sages. So 9 daughters, they should get married to these Marichi, Angira, Pulastaya, all these great sages. And thereby spread your fame all over the universe. So we'll stop with this. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.